All right, well, welcome to the August version of Transaction Review and Calculator Practice. This is basically our community mastermind where you can bring your own deals, let us know what you're doing, ask for help, share some special knowledge that you have, because this is the time when we can all sort of work together and you know, patch in any weak spots you feel like you have, whether it's in marketing and getting them, or building private money relationships, or just figuring out how to structure deals. But anyhow, so I'm really happy to have you along on this. We're going to go ahead, and here's the standard disclaimer. So anyway, I always like to start with a calculator practice just so we keep those skills up in real world situations. So let's get at it. Okay, so here's a very basic sort of deal. And I'm going to bring up my HP 10B2 financial calculator by Day Development. So let's say we have a house that's worth $100,000 and it's not worth 90 and it's not worth 110. It's worth 100 and they sold it for 100. So that just helps us, you know, keep square on it. When you sell with owner financing, you know, there's some merit for being able to add a premium, maybe 10% higher. Or 10 or 15,000 higher, depending. But when you go to sell the note, it might compromise the value for the note, because really the note buyer is going to say, "Hey, what's the value?" Not what you sold it for. If you greatly increase the sales price and the cash value is, you know, quite a bit lower, it's going to compromise what you can sell the note for, because we need to feel secure based on the value of the property, just kind of like a hard money lender would be. Collateral-based lending quite frequently. So anyway, let's say this buyer, maybe they were a long-time tenant and you own it free and clear. They're going to put $10,000 down and they're asking you to carry for them because maybe they have a little bit of brute's credit, had some medical issues, whatever, a divorce, a bankruptcy, something like that, where they're not quite in a position to be able to get financing, but they've got a good 10% down payment. And so the note and mortgage they're asking you to carry for them is $90,000. So the first thing I'm going to do when I'm figuring out, you know, putting these owner carry deals together, and something you should think out, we want to set up the borrower for success. So the first thing we're going to do, what can they afford? When you use a licensed mortgage originator to underwrite the file, there's certain debt to income ratios that they're looking to stay below, because historically speaking, those make it so that the borrower has a good chance of fulfilling on the obligation and not losing their house and their investment. So let's just say that this buyer, a lot of times tenants don't know to think to add in, you know, those extra expenses that come up when you're an owner, like little things that you have to fix that when you're the tenant you have someone else do, or they're not used to taxes and insurance and things like that. So basically, you just got to help make sure that they understand. So let's just say $1,200 is the max payment that they can afford, okay? And let's just say that T&I, taxes and insurance, is $225 a month. So if the max payment per month that this buyer can easily afford is $1,200, then that has to encompass PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and HOA if there is such a thing. So in this case, we're going to pretend that taxes and insurance are $225, so I'm going to take that out of the amount that's available for the mortgage payment, the principal and interest. So the max monthly P&I, or principal and interest, that this buyer can afford is $975. So I'm going to put that, I always put these two as negative numbers, so I'm going to make that a negative number right here, and I'm going to enter it in the payment. So I know that's the most they can afford. We know that $90,000 is the note and mortgage. That goes right here in present value, PV. This could also be called loan amount. And let's just say that the highest rate the buyer will agree to pay is 8, and that's still a good rate for the seller, basically giving private money. And so that's pretty strong and will help preserve the value of the note in the secondary market. And so here's the question. What is the fully amortized term? When we know any four of these, we can figure out the fifth one. So future value here is 0 because there's no balloon. It's going to be fully amortized. We know this is the max monthly payment. We know this is the loan amount or present value. We're plugging in 8% for the interest or yield. So now what we don't know is how many months does that turn out to be? Okay, that's really close to 144, right? So basically that would be a nice clean amortization schedule. So we're going to put 144 in there, and then we know something's going to change. So if we do that, I'm going to go back over here and solve for payment. So in this case, what we're going to do is make the monthly payment $974.21, which is that number we're trying. It's below the number we're trying to stay below there, so they can have a good chance of fulfilling on their obligation. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in. All right, and again, if you being part of this community, if you have any specific questions or things, if I don't know the answer, I can pull guys in that can demonstrate a lot of fancy things on these things to help us. So please ask questions so that these masterminds are as helpful as possible to you. All right, I'm going to put this down for a second. All right, so a lot of people, in fact, this week I got an email from someone that said, look, how do I, actually in the last 7 days, 2 emails from people that are saying, how do I get started with nothing? Or how can I jumpstart my business? And it seems like such a long way away. And in my opinion, there's a lot of different skills sets that you can acquire and concentrate on, but I think the ability to raise private money is one of the strongest, no matter if you're going to invest in property or paper, real estate or notes. So here's the problem. Many people want to get started investing in notes or brokering, which is wholesaling notes, like a lot of people wholesale properties or broker properties, but they don't have a lot of their own money to work with, and they don't want to or can't spend 2 to 5 years building a business where they easily generate good note leads month in and month out. Because there's no special sauce here. The note business is a business like any sort of business that you're starting. So it can easily take 2 to 5 years to really catch your stride and get going if you put a lot of effort into it. So that really is a job. It's a career. And then there's another problem on the other side. Many people who do have money don't have the time or inclination to invest it actively, yet they want the safety. The stock market could easily drop over 50% in our next downturn, maybe more, and banks are paying less than 1% if you just keep it there in a quote-unquote safe place, and that's kind of hard to retire on. And who knows if negative interest rates are going to hit us over here. We don't know. So the solution for me is create a win-win solution between the sweat equity, that's the person willing to look for the deal, and the capital. If you can create a financial network, you can start making money in notes today. I mean, right now, you're flooded with opportunity. If you can get your financial friends in order and people that will partner with you. There's no waiting 2 to 5 years, nothing. So it's a super, super valuable skill. So what kind of person do you have to be to attract good financial friends? You have to have some education. There's really no way around that. You need to understand the basics of the business. You got to be familiar with the standard terminology, understand the basic due diligence and things you need to look for, and you have to have basic financial calculator skills. You don't have to be fancy. I basically know how to use the top 5 buttons, well, a little bit more, but basically I just say, I only know how to use the top 5 buttons, and I'm overseeing a fairly sizable note portfolio right now. So you don't have to be a whiz at this stuff. Just learn those 5 buttons, and it'll really set you free. Character. Why should someone trust you? Do you have integrity? Do you always do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it? If you constantly say you're going to do things, even just like, oh, I'm going to send you that tomorrow, or I'm going to call you. I mean, I'm bad with this. Like, my poor web guy, I'll say, oh, I'm going to get you the slides for this